Honorable President of the Senate, Minister of Science and Innovation, Secretary of State for Climate Change, Secretary of State for Telecommunications and Information Society, President of the BBVA Foundation, President of FASIC, Chairman and members of the juries, esteemed co-laureates, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Andrea Mas-Colell and I are grateful to the BBVA Foundation, its president, Francisco Gonzalez, the Spanish Science Council, FASIC, and its president, Dr. Rafael Rodrigo. We thank the members of the jury who recommended us for this award. There is no sweeter fruit than the regard of one's peers. The great challenge of economics is to understand the outcome of interdependent behaviors. Adam Smith in 1776 and Leon Walras 100 years later laid the foundations for this understanding. They taught us that prices serve as a central device for mediating behaviors. Prices adjust to a point of equilibrium at which demand and supplies for all commodities balance. And it is this dynamic that aligns the actions of individual participants in a market. Thus the phrase, an economist is a parrot who knows only the lines supply and demand, supply and demand. Andrea Mas-Colell and I came to this parrot jungle in the decade of the 1960s. It was a particularly exciting time. Kenneth Arrow, Gerard Debreu, and Lionel Mackenzie had just provided the first mathematically precise representation of the previous story. It is referred to as the Arrow-Debreu model of general equilibrium. And yes, indeed, it is the model that is used by economists to explain a sudden change in the price of oil or to predict how a proposed tax increase will affect people differently depending on their income level. To Andrea and my good fortune, our inclinations and our abilities were well aligned with the then recent invention of the Arrow-Debreu model. The pioneers were our teachers, and our efforts to push their model in order to obtain deeper understandings were met by them with kindness and encouragement. Many other economists contributed to this general effort, but for the purpose of today's award, we acknowledge the work of an Argentinian, Ralph Ricardo Mantel, who died in 1999 at the height of his powers. Advances in science, technology, and the organization of markets have led to a world that is generally better than what we and our parents inherited. Nevertheless, as we sit here close to your great museums, the threats that Goya so frighteningly captured in his dark paintings remain very real. We have concerns regarding the sustainability of inclusive economic growth. There are new and more efficient forms of mass slaughter, and the possibility of horrific environmental degradation is without precedent. But Andrea and I are optimistic for the future. We are believers, and surely the best hope for dealing with these very real challenges and for leaving the world a still better place is an improved understanding of what science can make possible and a deeper appreciation of the best of our humanity. It is this conviction and perhaps similar optimism that is behind these awards. So we thank the BBVA for the encouragement that these awards generate. And we close by thanking our families and friends, many in the audience, for their encouragement and understanding and love. Gracias.